Have you heard of overemployment? It's a growing trend where people take on multiple full-time remote jobs simultaneously. Sounds like a clever hustle, right? Well, here's the actual truth. In many cases, it's outright fraud and can lead to serious legal repercussions. Today, we're gonna dive deep into why overemployment is risky business, why it's unethical, and how it could jeopardize remote work for everyone. Stick around. This one could be basically a lot of drama. I hope you're ready to get into this. So first off, let's define overemployment. Essentially, it's when someone takes on more than one full-time job, often working them concurrently without their employers actually knowing, and that's the critical aspect of this. With remote work becoming the norm, some see this as an opportunity to double down or even triple down what they can make inside of their own personal income. But what many don't actually realize is there are serious ethical and legal pitfalls involved in overemployment. Overemployment might seem like a lucrative idea, but here's why it's fraught with issues. So there's a lot of fraud and ethical concerns. Number one being contract violations. Many employment contracts explicitly prohibit working another full-time job. By hiding additional employment, you're actually violating contractual agreements, which is legally pretty darn risky. If discovered, this could lead to immediate termination or even legal action from breach of contract. Number two is conflicts of interest. Juggling multiple jobs can create conflicts of interest, especially if the companies are in the same industry. This can lead to a lack of trust and damage your professional reputation if employers find out you're moonlighting. Number three, and we've talked about this before. I think I actually have this here. Here it is. Do you know what this thing is? This is a mouse jiggler. And let's talk about mouse jigglers. These devices simulate activity on your computer to make it seem like you're working. And using these to deceive your employer is not just unethical, in my opinion, it's a form of fraud. You're essentially being paid to do work that you're not actually doing, which can have serious legal consequences. And I know of multiple people actually that have used these types of tools. We actually have technology that detects these automatically. And unfortunately, it's like 1% to 2% of the workforce that currently uses them, but it's a big problem because it just creates an environment of distrust, which again erodes the mindset of remote work being something that everyone can enjoy, because you have that 1% to 2% of the population that's using devices like these to essentially double or triple the amount of work hours that they're working, and it's just incredibly damaging towards the entire movement of remote work, in my opinion. There's also a lot of legal repercussions. Number one, fraud charges. Falsifying work hours and using devices like mouse jigglers to trick time tracking systems can lead to fraud charges. Employers trust that you're dedicating your full attention to the job, and deceiving them violates that trust. Number two, lawsuits and financial penalties. If you're caught, you could face lawsuits and be required to pay back wages or even face fines. The legal and financial risks far outweigh the temporary financial gains. In the United Kingdom right now, there were actually some employees that were caught double or triple employed using these particular devices, and they're up on legal charges right now. And that's for government jobs, but this could expand out to other private sector jobs as well. And number three, long-term career damage. Being labeled as someone who commits employment fraud is not really a good idea, and it can severely damage your career. It's a small world, and reputations can follow you from job to job, making it difficult to find future employment. I have to tell you, at least in the tech industry, it's a very, very small industry, and there's been many times where I've spoken to someone as a reference from a previous employer, and they've said, hey, give me a call, because they don't want it documented somewhere on email or something like that, saying, hey, this person was just not the right employee for our company, and I don't think that this employee would be the right employee for you. So if you were caught using this type of technology, it would be something that would probably follow you for quite a while. But it's not just about the individual consequences. Let's talk about the broader impact on remote work as a whole. There's ethical implications as an example. The biggest one I can think of right now is essentially breeding distrust. When people engage in overemployment, they create an environment of distrust. Employers start to question the integrity of all remote workers, making it harder for honest employees to actually work flexibly. Number two is tightening policies, what I would call like more employee monitoring as opposed to focusing on productivity inside of organizations. And this is just bad for everyone all around. I know for a lot of people that don't know about Time Doctor, which is one of our companies, we're always focused on productivity, not necessarily employee monitoring. And this is one of those things that is very frustrating to me because we have a lot of people that ask us, hey, I just want to be able to solve for these things because this is the fear that they have about adopting remote work in a greater way. And it's a real big issue that I think we can hopefully solve if we actually solve for these issues, which is 1 to 2% of the population using these devices in order to be able to cheat their employer out of more money. And lastly, I think this is threatening remote work viability. Ultimately, if it's widespread enough, it could threaten the viability of remote work itself. Companies might pull back on remote work opportunities, forcing more people back into traditional office settings. And this is something that obviously is the core thesis and mission statement of what running remote is against. Our mission is to empower everyone to be able to work wherever they want, whenever they want. And remote work is such a central part of that philosophy. And these types of mindsets of overemployment are exactly counterproductive towards that future, at least in my opinion. So if you're considering overemployment, here's my advice. Number 1, stick to one job. Focus on excellence in a single role. It's better to be great at one job than mediocre at several. Number 2, be transparent. If you do take on extra work, make sure your employers are aware and that it doesn't conflict with your primary job contract. This is something that I have no problem whether or not someone wants to actually do 2, 3, 4 extra jobs if they can, because for me, I'm focused on the outcome, not necessarily the amount of hours that you spent to be able to get to that particular outcome. But the issue is when you're not honest about it, and it's a security issue, it's an ethical issue, there's a bunch of problems that are kind of connected to this. And lastly, number 3, you need to be able to prioritize your integrity. Remember, you're a professional and professionals have reputations in the industry. And in my opinion, that's invaluable. Integrity and honesty will take you much further in your career than any quick financial gain from overemployment. This is something that you don't want to be able to play around with, at least in my opinion, if you're thinking about this type of technology. Overemployment might seem very, very tempting, but it's a slippery slope filled with ethical dilemmas and legal risks. Stay true to your commitment, be transparent, and focus on building a solid, sustainable career. If you found this video valuable, please give it a thumbs up. If you hated this video, please give it a thumbs down and let me know in the comments whether or not you are using overemployment. It would be great actually if we could get some anonymous people that could tell us specifically how their overemployment career is going, because I just don't think it's necessarily going to end up very well. And other than that, if you really liked these videos, this is what we talk about all day long. So if you're interested, go check out some of these other videos that are probably popping up here, and we will see you in the next one. Take care. If you've gotten to this point in the video, I think you should probably subscribe to this YouTube channel. It's free, unlike most other things in life, and it would bring me happiness and joy. Other than that, I'll see you in the next one.